Hi guys, Deanne here from Canada Abroad, and thanks so much for tuning in. Today we are going to be going over everything you need to know for the parent and grandparent sponsorship program for 2023. So as we previously announced, what IRCC is going to be doing is they are just going to be selecting sponsors that completed the interest to sponsor form all the way back in 2020. The reason for this is there were so many applicants in 2020 and not all of them have been picked as a sponsor, and they didn't want to reopen it because there would be apparently too many people. Whatever the thought process was, they're not allowing any new interest to sponsor forms to be completed this year. So unless you actually completed one of those forms back in 2020, then you're not going to be able to sponsor your parents or grandparents this year, unfortunately. Now, as we previously mentioned, they are going to be handing out a total of 24,200 invitations to sponsor. And what's going to happen is they're only going to accept the first 15,000 completed applications. So you do want to make sure that you have everything ready and you're fully prepared to submit that application as soon as possible. So the first thing that you really want to think about is, when I submitted that interest to sponsor form, which email address did I use? And do I still have access to it? If you are not sure, just monitor the email addresses that you have access to. If you know for sure that you no longer have access to that email address, what's going to happen is IRCC is going to put a page up where you'll be able to contact them and let them know that your email address has changed so that they can send any notifications that would have been sent to that address to your new address. But the only thing is that they're not going to be allowing you to notify them of this change until the end of the 2-week process where they're handing out the invitations. So IRCC is going to start handing out the invitations for people to sponsor on October 10th. And they're going to be doing that over a 2-week period. And then on October 23rd, 2023, they will have that page open where you can notify them if you no longer have access to the email address that you originally used. So that's the first thing. Go back and check which email address you used and make sure that you can access it. The next thing that you're going to want to do, you're going to want to make sure that you still meet the funds requirement based on your current family size. So a lot of people completed these forms, obviously back in 2020. You might have had changes to your family. You could have added more people to your family. There could be less people in your family. So you're going to want to go and check the low income cutoff and make sure that you're still able to meet the financial requirements. So they haven't posted the new tables yet for 2023. So I've posted the link below that you can go look at the table for 2022 just to give you an indication of what they've been looking for. So when you're looking at the family size, you want to include your current family. So that would be your spouse and children. So let's say that you're married with 2 kids. Your family size would be 4. But then if you are sponsoring both of your parents, you need to add 2 people. So you're going to be looking at the low income cutoff for a family of 6. So go through that table and make sure that you're still going to be able to meet the financial requirements. Or if you need a co-signer, start looking at that as well. And the third thing that you're going to want to make sure is that you create an account with the PR portal. So all of these applications are going to be submitted online. They're not paper-based. And what happens is there's part of the application that is done by the sponsor, and then there's part of the application that is done by the applicant, so your parent or your grandparent that you're sponsoring. But the whole application has to be submitted together at the same time. So the way that this is done is the sponsor will create an application in the portal. They will upload all of the required documents, complete everything in the system, and then the parent or grandparent can be given access to this application and go in and sign it as well. Now, with the portal, it's not complicated, but there's more steps involved. So over the next few weeks, I am going to be posting some videos showing you how to create your profile, showing you how to give access to your parents or grandparents so that you can complete these applications inside the portal. So I'm going to go through that a little more in depth in the coming weeks. So first things first, if you already have an account, perfect. If not, then you'll want to hit subscribe and get notifications when that new video comes out. One of the really nice things that IRCC is doing with these applications is, let's say you submit your application and it's incomplete, something is missing. Usually they just return it to you as incomplete and tell you to resubmit if you're eligible. Here, they're saying, okay, if it's incomplete, we're gonna notify you these documents are missing. You have 30 days to give them to us so that we can continue to process the application. So they're not just gonna automatically cancel it and send it back as incomplete. They're gonna give you 30 days to give the missing information. But this is if you forgot one or two things. It's not if you are missing all the forms and all of your supporting documents. It's just if you're missing one or two things by accident. So don't think that you can submit a completely incomplete application and get those 30 days. It's if you forgot something and it's clearly a small mistake. Now, the next thing you want to do is start gathering your supporting documents. And again, I'm going to go through them more in depth in a separate video, but to give you an idea, the things that usually take the longest is proving the relationship. So as a sponsor, you're gonna have to prove your status, Canadian citizen or permanent resident. You're gonna have to have your notice of assessment for the last 3 years from Canada Revenue Agency. You are gonna need to prove your relationship to your parent or your grandparent. And usually how this is done is if it's your parent or parents that you're sponsoring, it would be your unabridged birth certificate. So your birth certificate that shows both of your parents on it. That is how you show that you're related to your parents. If it is your grandparents, you would need your unabridged birth certificate and then your mom or dad's unabridged birth certificate to show that relationship. Those are the documents we usually see that people don't always have readily available and they have to go dig for them or order new copies. For the applicant, they'll need their own valid passport. They will need their own birth certificate. They will need their police clearances for any country that they've lived in for 6 months or longer in the last 10 years. They will have to go for a medical, but that will be later on in the process. And they will have to do biometrics as well, but that also will come later in the process. Now, the next thing that you need to make sure is that you actually get invited. So, you can go ahead, you can create the portals, you can get the application forms ready, you can upload your supporting documents, but at the end of the day, they are going to ask you to upload a copy of your invitation to submit that full application. So if you decide to take a chance and just submit an application without receiving the invitation, they said that it will be returned, they're not going to process it, and they're actually going to keep the sponsorship fee. So that fee will not be refunded to you. So just keep that in mind if you decide to try that. So those are the main things that you're going to want to think about now. But like I said, over the next few weeks, we will be going over how to create these applications in the portal, how to create the forms, how to give your parent or grandparent access for signing rights, and we'll also go over the checklist in more detail. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and sign up for alerts so you can see when those videos come out. And thank you guys, as always, for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.